You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Family Issues, your program, your weekly program that tackles all family problems and all family hopes in a very warm way. Let me first tell you this little poem. Last night I had the strangest dream I'd ever dreamt before. I dreamt that all the world had agreed to put an end to war. I dreamt I saw a mighty room. The room was full of men, and the paper they were signing said, "They will never fight again." And when 1,000,000 copies were made and all the papers were signed, they shook hands, bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below danced round and round, and swords and guns and uniforms were scattered on the ground. We hopefully want peace to distribute and disseminate all over the world. Today, a very important issue to the family is going to be tackled, a bit different from the various episodes. They were all speaking about wives and husbands and spouses and marital relations. But today, there is an issue that's very important to be tackled regarding children. Actually, a very common type of children is the one who usually is inattentive. He's not concentrating well. He faces so many problems at home and in the class. And a very fine line separates helping your child to do his homework and doing it for him. Because it is very common. Nowadays you find a parent doing the whole homework for his child because he feels angry for the long and very big homework the child cannot do, and in the same time he is in a case of confusion. He doesn't know how to solve the problem. So the child sleeps and the parent completes the homework. This is some sort of cheating. You are cheating yourself. Your child is not learning. Another point is that some classes, some people in the school around the child call him the class clown. And all the time there is criticism, and everyone gives a word about the child, stigmatizes him, labels him, and every day this happens. It erodes the self-esteem of the child. And at the end result, you find your child not self-confident as you wanted. We want to build our children to be self-confident and their self-esteem to be raised, not to be lowered in schools. And therefore, and unfortunately, commonly in schools, these types of children, those children who are promising, in fact, if you speak actually, these children are going to be the future scientists, are going to be the future artists, are going to be the future politicians. But unfortunately, their performance at the class may deceive the teachers and the parent himself. Because all the time he is distracted, looking here and there, squirming and fidgeting in his chair, chatting with other colleagues in the same time while the teacher is explaining the lesson. So many teachers dismiss the child or expel him from the class because he considered him as a naughty boy. This is a very common word or phrase that's said. You are a naughty boy, you are a bad girl, and he's expelled. All these snapshots in the mind of the child makes him at the end thinks that he is a devil, he is a crazy boy, he is at least not a good boy. Therefore, today, this is the most important issue that we want to tackle. We want to see what do you mean by an inattentive child, what's meant by ADD or attention deficit disorder, what are the symptoms, what are the treatments, and we are ready, by the way, to answer any question through this episode. But first, let us go and see this report about the inattentive child.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Children are the apple of parents' eyes. Many parents complain about their children, who flit through life, never landing in one place for long. Once a mother described the case of her little girl, that she forgets to tie her shoes, bring home her homework, pick up her toys. Her teachers say she doesn't pay attention in school. They point out that she can't follow instructions or concentrate. She may make 1 or 2 scribbles on her schoolwork, then giggle and whisper with the other children. At home, she wanders around, perpetually touching and picking up things. At the dinner table, she can't sit still. She bangs her knife against her plate, eats 1 bite, and is off. She's constantly on the go, running around, pushing other kids, throwing toys. She may be absent-minded. You ask her why she forgets to bring her homework home for the 5th day in a row, and she says, "I was going to. I had the book in my hand. But I put it down to look at this cool game that Amy bought, and..." Parents of school-aged children worry, and rightly so, that children who are unable to pay attention for even short periods will suffer in school. But attention problems aren't confined to school-aged children. They are very common among children of all ages. Developmental observations of a large number of infants and young children growing into childhood and beyond have led us to identify processes involved in paying attention and different problems associated with each. For example, some children have difficulties with attention because of how they sequence actions and move or use their bodies. They get distracted while tying shoes or writing a word, for example. Other children have attention challenges because of the way they process what they see or hear. Still, other children may have attention difficulties because of the way their bodies react to the world. Some are easily distracted when there are too many noises or too many people around. For instance, there are various kinds of attention and types of difficulty with attention. For example, a motor pattern, types of attention, and auditory processing or visual processing types. We can also think about attention in relation to reacting or sensations, visual, auditory, tactile, and smell. In fact, most children with significant attentional problems tend to have more than one area of their nervous system or functional abilities less developed than the rest of their system. For example, some children who are weak in visual spatial processing, that is, perceiving objects in space, also have a difficulty with motor planning. In addition, I frequently see children with poor auditory processing skills who are also underreactive to sound. Some very verbal children may be overreactive to noises and certain types of touch and visual input. This makes paying attention to a task in a busy schoolroom very difficult. So now, what is the way to help our children concentrate? How can we manage a hyperactive child? How can we make our children lead happier and enjoyable lives?
You are never alone. You are never alone.
In fact, as you have seen in the report, all the criteria that are given to the child who is inattentive are so challenging. The American Association of Pediatrics and Pediatric Behaviors put about 15 criteria for a child to be called an inattentive child. At least you have to have 8 criteria of these 15, and not less than 6 months you are doing this behavior to call you an inattentive child, or plus minus hyperactivity, because not every inattentive child is hyperactive, but every hyperactive child usually is inattentive. Therefore, this is very important for the nomenclature or the name of the condition. And by the way, when we say condition, it means that there is a controversy about whether this is a disease, or this is a disorder, or this is a type of personality. I myself, from those who believe that this is a type of personality, In the severe cases, I can call it a disorder. But actually, I don't consider this as a disease. Why? Because when you are going to see, you are going to find that actually the whole problem is that the brains of these children is to some extent not mature. Not the whole brain, but some areas are slowly maturating. So you have to wait, and you have to prepare yourself, and you have to put a policy, an educational one most probably, and even at home you have to treat the child in a way that makes him feeling that he's normal. And actually, as I say, he is normal. So don't try to make the normal thing, change it into an abnormal thing. This is by the way you treat your child. If you dislocate, I call it dislocation, as in bones. When you dislocate your child, you put him in a class where all the teachers and all those in this grade demanding certain levels of sciences or certain levels of information from the child, and he still is not that mature. He wants to play. Okay, let me first take this telephone call from Noha from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum, Noha.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
At your service, Noha.
Thank you.
Do you have any question?
Yes, at first I think my children have all the 15 criteria you have said without hearing them. I have 3 kids, 10, 8 and 4 years old. They are super hyperactive. They have all the signs I know for the hyperactivity.
Yeah.
I don't know how to deal with these. They are flying, not walking at home.
Yeah.
When we go out, people are always annoyed from them and may shout at them. How can I keep their psychological health stable? And I hope they have a high self-esteem also.
Thank you, Noha. Thank you for your question. And I think it's, like they say, a laser question, or in the center of the episode. Because actually this is the problem. And this is maybe what we are going to discuss in the next part or segment of the program. Because, you know, as you have said, the criteria are very common. And we all the time misunderstand this and accordingly react in a wrong way. We are going to discuss this, of course, in the next segment in a very broad way in details. But to tell you the truth, the most important thing, put your child, as they say, in your eyes, whatever he does, because the point is that he is your son and you are his mother. You are not his teacher. He is hyperactive, he is fidgeting, he is squirming, he is a talkative child. All these, anyway, are going to be discussed, but in the next part of this episode. So let's go a break and come back.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Do you have questions that bother you? What about issues of concern to you? Would you like to share things on your mind with us? Are you interested in solutions based on an Islamic perspective? Please join me live in Meet Your Advisor every Friday at 9 p.m. Mecca time, here on Huda TV.
Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. So is it logical to say all plastic surgeries are lawful in Islam to bring or to regain beauty? These very misleading questions need a very accurate and firm answers. Let us set up the rules and principles to cover all plastic surgeries in Islamic law. How Islam does legalize niqab or veil factor in our modern life? Is it fair to suggest that it is more cultural than it is Islamic? I would rather to answer these questions by just suggesting very shocking fact about niqab. Are you ready for that? How Islam does legalize polygamy when Islam always says that respect natural instinct and natural feelings, and knowing that not a single woman does accept anyone to share her in her kingdom. All what you have said is true. But is there any difference between your natural instinct and your natural desires, or maybe between your interest or what you wish to have, or maybe your interest and other interest? Is it true that anything came after the Prophet ﷺ regarding this deen to be considered as a bid'ah, innovation? It's neither this nor that. It seems very well complicated and confusing to many Muslims, especially when it comes to the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, وَكُلَّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ, and Sayyidina Umar saying, نِعْمَةُ الْبِدْعَةُ هَذِهِ. Let us set up the very comprehensive definition of bid'ah according to Islamic law.
Learn Arabic.
As everyone knows, today Arabic is considered as very important, very significant language. How can we produce the sound, the state of voicing, place of articulation, and manner of articulation? So in Arabic, the words which are written are pronounced.
We will learn how to write and pronounce Arabic letters correctly in depth. Explanation via board and presentation with many other important factors.
And we have today more than 300 million people speak Arabic language. Not only in the Middle East, but you can find a lot of people speak Arabic language in Asia, Europe, North America, and in South America.
What are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and pencil and stay tuned for Learn Arabic at Huda TV.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum. Again, welcome back. We're speaking today in family issues about the child who is inattentive. This is a very important issue actually and very common. Let me first read you this paragraph from a report in the school about a child who made or was in a test in the interview as a newcomer. Ahmed's attention was adequate in all subjects, regardless the demands in the verbal or non-verbal dimensions. Towards the end of the testing session, Ahmed showed signs of fatigue and asked a break in order to play. After a short constructing game, Ahmed easily engaged again in testing and completed all the tasks again. This was a paragraph from a long report about a child, a newcomer in a school, and this reflects how it's important for a child to be in the test, in the newcomer test, relaxed, eating well, drinking well, in a good temper and mood, not having a half or 1 degree of temperature high. You have to prepare the child. And strangely, you are going to know after a while that few sips of coffee or Nescafe may make him more attentive and his performance will be better in the test. And it's very important in children. You may be astonished how we can give coffee to a child. This is the brain. This is the brain of the child, if you see in this picture. And it shows that the brain is full of so many areas. And some of these areas are specialized in visual memory, and some of them are specialized in auditory memory, and some motor areas and emotional areas. All these areas are having to be developed day by day, week by week, month by month. But unfortunately, or for a certain wisdom, God made some children have some of these areas slowly maturating. That's what I was saying in the first part of this episode. Actually, we are speaking about the controversy that is going on. Is this child not a good hard worker? Is he a naughty boy really? Or he cannot focus for a long time? This is a very common dilemma, and it made so many different controversies around the world between scientists and doctors. Therefore, we are discussing this today, and I hope that I receive any telephone call or emails from you. By the way, I remind you by our telephone on the screen, it's 002-023835 248 or 249. Well, by definition, any child is inattentive. Any child, normal child, is inattentive, and he is hyperactive. Okay, what's meant then? If normal child is inattentive and he's hyperactive, so what's all this dilemma about? Well, some children you find this inattention or this hyperactivity a bit exaggerated more in these children. to the degree that their lives, their social lives, or their scholastic lives become a hell. They become a burden on their parents, an economic one, because they want to put them in schools that can accept this type of hypermobility or hyperactivity. And of course, if you, as I said, dislocate your child in a place where everyone wants him to focus, to concentrate, and for long times, this is going to be a problem for your child. And in this case, it seems as if you made a trick in your child, without, of course, not intentional one. Actually, so many points in this case are going to be tackled. The child with immature areas in the brain, not immature, sorry, it's slowly maturating. And this means that someday these areas are going to be fully mature. When is this day coming? This depends on so many factors. One of them is very importantly is the types of food he eats and the ways you raise your child and the environments he visits and the connections with other people and the experiments he does with his senses. So you have to focus, you yourself have to focus very well in what you are going to do and what you are feeding your child in order to have a child who is very attentive and focusing. One of the most interesting tests, very common around the world and standardized, but it's very easy, the least difficult one, what's called Draw a Man test. Draw a Man test is a type of intelligence tests. It's called another name, Good Enough Harris test. This test is caring about detecting the intelligence of your child. Is he intelligent or not, and how much is the degree of intelligence? Draw a man test, like for example, look at this picture. Look at this drawing by the child. Every part of the face and every part of the body, the eyes, the eyelashes, the eyebrows, the hair, the mouth, the nose, every part of the face and every part of the body has to be evaluated as a mark. As you see here, if it's obvious to you, we have marks 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get this row degree, and then we multiply it by a factor, and then we have the exact degree of intelligence or index of intelligence or intelligence quotient of this child. But remember a very important common mistake that happens during making such types of tests, that the child sometimes, as I say, is not attentive and he is not talking well. Maybe he is having few types of words and he cannot express himself. I think in these cases you have to be conservative. You have to take care that you are commenting about the brain of the child, but in the same time he is not connecting with you well. So the result might be questionable. So this shows this age of child, this another child here, draw a man test. It's less accurate. If please the camera we can see nearby. Look at the face. This is one of the eyes and this is the other eye. They are not equal in size. This means maybe that the child is not having a good memory or a good hand grasp or a good focusing. So many causes. This drawing reflects so many of the functions of the brain. This is another one. This is another one. Here you see also, but this is more accurate, and the body is drawn as a square. All these things are collected in order to get the mark of the child. Also, this is a last one. Also shows two children with their drawings, which reflects their intelligence. Okay, and you have to be very careful when you comment about intelligence tests because it directs the child's life into a wrong way if they were misinterpreted. Also, we want to speak more deeply about what's meant by slowly maturating areas of the brain. This means that if you took a sample from these immature areas of the brain, you are going to find them, the nerves, these areas, if you took a sample of them and put it under the microscope, you are going to find that the cells are not well insulated. Usually the nerve cells are covered with a layer of what's called myelin sheath. It's full of of materials like omega-3 and omega-6. These are usually found in different foods, and I think one of the episodes are going to be completely and exclusively about brain foods, how to raise the intelligence of our children by food. By the way, we are speaking about drawings, there is another test called Draw a Family Test. Draw a Family Test. Draw a Family Test, this is not a Draw a Family Test, but by the way, usually children draw the house and the father and the mother and every member in the family. It reflects his emotional ways, it reflects his emotional sensations towards the members of the family. If he hates someone, if he loves more someone, if he feels afraid of separation and anxiety, for example, he draws maybe the father very close to him because he's afraid that his father is going to separate from him for a reason or another, divorce, travel, death, disease, and so on. So, we are going in the next segment of the episode actually to discuss how to treat such problems. But before this also, we have to say that the greatest problem that faces children, to my mind, is the wrong policy that a father or a mother makes when they put their children in schools, for two reasons. Number one, they choose a wrong school, because the school might be so unflexible, so rigid, so having orders, do's and do nots, and they are very constricted minds. But actually my child is not from this type. My child is not diseased. My child is not from this type. He likes to, as I said, to squirm, to move, get up and down, to walk in the class, to play, to shout, to sing, to do things like this. But actually, unfortunately, when you are put in this type of schools, which is very rigid, they are not going to allow him to do this. And the second problem that's going to happen if you put this child in a class that is higher than his age. Some people, unfortunately and wrongly, having a misconception or a myth that when you put your child early in a class, for example, in the first primary year, or let us say, for example, in KG1, this is in the kindergarten, in 2 years, he's happy because this means that his child is clever or smart. So actually this is, to my mind, you put your child in a trick or in a problem. Let me first answer Abdullah from Egypt and continue what we say. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Abdullah?
Fine, doctor. Thanks a lot.
That's your service in family issues.
Thanks. Actually, I'd like to share you a problem of a friend of mine.
Yeah.
He has a son, okay? His son suffers from being introvert.
What's the age of the son?
16.
15 years old?
Yes.
Okay. Introverted?
Yeah, he's introvert and doesn't have confidence.
Oh.
He's hesitant in dialoguing with anyone or talking with anyone.
Yeah.
Stuttering.
Yeah.
He said that he used to treat him in a very strict way when he was young.
Yeah.
So he, in his way, tried to make him be very kind with him.
Yeah.
As a result, he found that he can't control his son, so he goes back to being strict with him.
Yeah.
Actually, he is in a big dilemma, can't know how to handle his son.
Well, thank you, Abdullah. Thank you.
Thanks.
I understood what you want to say. And I think this man, your friend, has got into or fall into a vicious cycle. Started with not understanding his son, because actually this child, maybe from the type of children that we are speaking about just right now, he is shy, he is at the beginning, he's now 15 years old, but maybe at the start he was the one they called a naughty boy. He is going here and there, but destroying things, and seems to be reckless or not caring about tidiness. He is in a mess. So this makes some people aggressive towards their children. And consequently, maybe the child got introverted as a result. Or maybe this is something that is inherited. The parent himself is not that social. Anyway, afterwards, as you have said, the child turned to be shy, lost his confidence, and now he is sometimes stuttering. This, I think it's sometimes, it's not all the time. And this is called situational stuttering. The child has these speech problems in some situations where he is exposed to, or he's embarrassed. He's shy in front of foreigners, in front of strangers, okay? So, and this increases when the parent pushes him and says, hey, say hello, tell them that joke, go and tell them the riddle you have been saying to your brother. And the child is not at this moment ready for this. So what we can say, please be careful about this and just build the self-confidence and don't try to expose the child to situations that he is not ready to, and consequently, gradually the stuttering is going to be solved. I think we have with us who from Nigeria? Abdullah, I think. Abu Bakr from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Abu Bakr.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you?
I think it's alhamdulillah.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Abu Bakr?
Yeah, I have a question about a child who have a learning difficulty.
Yeah.
Or schizophrenia. This is what I wanted to know. Schizophrenia, is it a natural thing or
Well, please, Abu Bakr, a difficulty in what? A difficulty in what?
Learning difficulty.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Or schizophrenia.
Actually, I can't hear you well. Please, can you just close the television and talk to me directly?
I say that a child who's suffering from a learning difficulty.
Language difficulty?
Yeah.
Language difficulty. Okay. As regards Abu Bakr, I think this father is asking the same question the one before was asking Mr. Abdullah from Egypt. It's regarding the language or the way of speaking or speech or something like this. I think most of these problems are related, if not genetically, there is a problem inherited, or the parents, when they were kids at that age, they themselves were speaking in a difficult way at the beginning. This might be due to environmental factors or situational factors, so please do not press on your children in these cases, and remind you with the ages of speaking. When you are 1 year old, when you are in 1 year old, you can speak, your sentence is one word: mama, papa, play, ball, sandwich. The number of the vocabulary depends on how rich you are putting your child in the environment with words. In 2 years, you speak a sentence of 2 words: I want, go to bathroom, and so on. Well, let me complete this, but after the break. Thank you.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent to all mankind. So the ummah, or the people of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, are all mankind since the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
The main concepts of Islamic economics, how is it different from the Western theories?
And the beauty about Islam is not that it just came as a religion to perfect the relationship of the servant of Allah with Allah, but also it came to perfect the relationship of the servant of Allah with others. The beauty about Islam, Islam comes and brings the interest of the public and the interest of the individual together.
How is Islamic banking different from the traditional banking system?
The concept of riba is that I lend you money, I give you a loan, in return that you give me back that loan with an extra at the top.
The idea of the stock market itself is halal or haram.
So these are the main conditions that the scholars put with regards of the share market.
Let's talk.
So this is something that you have to point out to them in the Bible.
Something which is, I think, very direly needed by the youth, which is staying firm on the truth.
This is just one of the greatest examples for me of how to control your anger.
Within the framework of being the cleanest religion, the cleanest jurisprudence, and in the meantime, the kindest religion to animals.
Watch Let's Talk with Khalil Amanet as he interviews guests and discusses a variety of topics, everything from youth issues to religious issues. Join us here on Hoda TV.
You are never alone. You are never alone.
Going on in the episode about inattentive child, before I go to management and answer so many questions that came to us in emails, let me tell you one thing that happened in my clinic yesterday. A mother came for a girl who is 8 years old crying because the child was exposed to sexual assault. And who was the attacker? The attacker, the abuser, the sexual abuser was her aunt's husband for 1.5 years. She is 8 years old. You can imagine how terrible is the story and how sad are the parents. All that I can say now, I'm going to make one episode about this as a whole, but let me say 2 points. Number one, teach your children from the very young ages to respect privacy and their privacy. And number two, supervise where are children going and they are coming from where. This is very important because it was very terrible to me actually. A question came to us about adult ADHD or adult attention deficit. Yes, attention deficit might grow with you until, most probably, until you be an adult. There is adult attention deficit disorder plus minus hyperactivity. In so many places we find people working but they are hyperactive. They go here and there and put the paper there and go to the manager and then come to his friend to tell him something and go. He cannot sit for a long time in his chair, in his office. This type might be very successful, but for everyone in the place, they have to know how to deal with him because he is hyper. I'm having someone also from Nigeria, Muhammad. Hello Muhammad, Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad, how are you Muhammad?
Yeah.
Do you have a question on family issues?
Yes, I have a question.
Please go on.
I have a sister who she's well learned, learned very well, but
please.
I'm having with her always she play with religion.
Play with what?
She doesn't take religion serious.
Actually, the sound is not clear. Can you raise your voice, please?
Yeah, I think she's not serious at all with religion.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's one point. Do you have any other points?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Well, I think I'm going to answer because I think Mr. Muhammad's question from Nigeria is about his daughters sticking to religion. I'm going to answer from a psychological part or behavioral part, but let you ask Huda, this is the ideal program to go to ask Huda about the religious aspect. But let me say something about psychology in this case. To make a child grow in the soil of a family with whatever types of ideas or doctrines or religions, you have to start this from very early. She has to see you executing whatever the ideas in your religion. For example, we are in Islam. She has to open her eyes and ears and see and hear you saying things related to this religion, and she has to live the condition, to live the state of Islam, for example. So, in this case, your child gradually, if you didn't start this, please start it from now. Don't try to push her or to compel her. Let her by herself go into the religion spontaneously. She will like it, but if you pushed her, I think the result is going to be not as you like. Don't be afraid, don't be nervous, but in the same time, please go to areas where fun is, and because sometimes people mix the personality with the religion, with the solidness and the inability to accept social mixing and such things like this. So please think about this. Also, we have from Emirat. Who from Emirat? Who?
Hello.
Hussein from Emirat. Assalamu alaikum, Hussein. United Arab Emirates.
Hello.
Hussein, salamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. How are you?
How are you, Hussein?
Yeah.
You want? Please.
Are you hearing now?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you very well.
Yeah. I can ask question now?
Please, go on.
Yeah. My daughter, his age is 12 years now. 2 years is going to complete. He is studying now.
12 years old. 12 years old.
Yeah, 12 years old.
Yeah.
Now he is studying the class in the 8th standard. I mean, 7th completed now. Just now, I mean, this year starting the 8th class. But our studies and all weak, and she is carrying to study, and whatever daily is memorizing that paragraph and mathematics and all, she is forgetting that next day. She is not concentrating that and all.
Okay. Thank you, Hussein. I'll answer this question maybe in the next episode because it deals with the study, and now hear me when I'm going to speak about things related to teaching children and so on. Thank you very much. Well, actually, the treatment or the management of what Hussein from United Arab Emirates was speaking, and other things related to this problem is: number 1, educational therapy; number 2, behavioral therapy; number 3, nutritional therapy; and lastly, sometimes we have to have drug therapy. As regards educational therapy, the type of the school, we said, I want you to choose a school for such a child who is not concentrating well in the paragraphs or not corresponding well with the teacher in the class, to put him in a school where fun is more, where projects, experiments, making activities is more than the academic part. If you find such a school, it will be better. Maybe you find 2 schools, and both of them are very academic, but you have to choose the lighter one. This is number 1. Number 2, please let your child go to school late. Wait for the immature areas to maturate. As regards the nutritional part, there are some types of foods called brain foods, and these foods are very helping for a brain to mature. We are going to speak about them broadly in another episode, but one of them, remember, is popcorn. Maybe this is very astonishing. It's a brain food. As regards the drugs, actually there are drugs that help the dopamine. This is a neurotransmitter in the brain that makes the child focusing more and less hyper. And this helps him, of course, to understand and grasp well his study, so he will prosper better in the class and his self-confidence will be raised. Before I close this episode, I remind you with something new called neurofeedback. Neurofeedback is a way that children now, a new technique where the child is put in front of the screen of the computer and train him to control his involuntary or involuntary functions like focusing and concentration. By sessions and sessions, he is going at the end to to be a good focuser. Let us also answer Asma from Nigeria.
Hello?
Assalamu alaikum, Asma.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I'm finding your program very interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I just finished my thesis.
Quickly, please, but Asma, quickly, please. Thank you very much. Quickly, please, because we are going to finish.
The question is, people are finding it difficult
Yeah.
to accept nutritional therapy.
In what? What type of therapy?
Nutritional therapy.
Nutritional therapy, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Finding it difficult to accept supplements
Okay.
for their children.
I understood your
because
question.
They are used to medication.
Yeah. Well.
I want you to just speak more on.
Okay, let me answer you, Asma,
and
quickly.
Behavioral therapy.
Thank you. Let me answer you quickly, Asma, because we are going to the end. Nutritional therapy, I'll suggest some types of foods, like very simple ones, like popcorn, sweet potatoes. All seafoods are great sources of omega-3 and omega-6. About the drug therapy, I cannot, of course, say specific materials, but we are sure that we can change a child who is inattentive into an attentive one. And remember that coffee and such types of drinks are very important and makes children focus very well at class before they go to the class. And this is the opposite and contradicting with cocoa and sweets and chocolate drinks and such things are very distracting, and they make the child unfocused and hyperactive and inattentive and nervous. So please take care not to give him this before he goes to school. Sometimes we put headphones for the child and let him hear types of musics or verses from Quran that are having regular rhythm that makes him focus well. I think we are approaching the end, so thank you very much. I'll tell you at last the email of our program if you want to send us. That says familyissues@huda.tv. Familyissues@huda.tv. That's the email. Thank you very much, and promise to see you next with another episode, maybe about how to increase the intelligence of my child. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone.